There's a huge change that happened last year that I am now hearing from so many people who say my ads used to work and now they don't. What happened? And late last year, Meta released their new AI. It's called Andromeda, and it's the AI that powers their ads. And this is different from the AI inside of Ads Manager, which we can talk about. This is just what helps Meta find the people that are likely to take your desired action and get them to do that. And you used to be able to, go into Ads Manager and get really specific with who you were trying to target. And while that's still available to an extent, now Meta relies heavily on your messaging, your ads, to tell it who is this desired person? Who do you want to reach with your message? And who within this audience is likely to resonate with what you're saying and take your desired action, whether that's leads or sales or whatever it is. And so you need volume, you need variety, you need to continuously feed Meta that data so that it knows what you want people to do, who to find, and who's actually taking that action when they get to your site.
Welcome to the Optimize to Monetize podcast. Joining me today is Samantha Fine, who is a Meta Ads expert and funnel strategist for female course creators and coaches. She spent over 15 years driving growth for billion-dollar brands, including Coca-Cola and Whole Foods. After facing discrimination for becoming a mom, Samantha left the corporate world and brought her expertise to the online space. Now Samantha helps female founders grow their email lists and scale their sales using meta ads and strategic funnels. Today's episode is a really good one, especially if you've ever said, my ads aren't working, or I've tried meta ads and just burned through money. Because the truth is, a lot has changed in the ads world, but what hasn't changed is that ads only work when the strategy behind them is solid. So stay tuned. Hey there, it's Michelle, and today Samantha Fine is joining me. Welcome to the show, Samantha.
Thank you so much for having me, Michelle.
I'm so excited because we just met like a month or so ago. We had a nice lunch together, so it was nice to actually meet somebody for the first time in real life.
I know, I feel like it's so rare that happens these days.
Right? And it's so funny because I always meet people from all over, and it would just so happen that I was going to visit my daughter in Chicago, and then my Chicago and Milwaukee peeps, we all met up for lunch. So it was great to see you and meet you in real life. So I'm glad we're having this talk today because like we were talking about just before we hit live, there's been so many changes going on with Facebook or Meta and Ads Manager and all that good stuff. So this is going to be a really good conversation.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive in with you.
Yeah. Now, before we do dive in, can you tell us a little bit about how you got into this online space?
Yes. So I have worked in digital marketing since 2009, and I grew up my career in major agencies in New York and Chicago, working for brands like Coca-Cola and Lysol and Whole Foods. And I mean, you look inside your kitchen, you probably have at least one of the brands I supported in my corporate career. But
Mm-hmm.
after having my first child, I returned from maternity leave only to find out that um, they didn't tell me about a potential promotion opportunity because they didn't think I would return from maternity leave. And that was sort of the kick in the pants I needed to figure something else out. And I started my own business and moved into the online space, went from helping billion-dollar brands run by men to now supporting female founders. I work with a lot of coaches and course creators and e-commerce brands, helping them use meta ads to create predictable sales.
I love that. I love that. And I will say hats off to you because I did start when I first got into the space that's what I was doing is running
Yeah.
Facebook ads and building funnels. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to let Facebook ads go because it is stressful, right? Because especially when you're running other people's ads, it's like, I always felt like, okay, I'm spending other people's money. I mean, I was successful at it and it was just a lot of stress. So hats off to you. And I know that today we're talking about like the real reason our ads are not converting, even when we think like they're set up right.
Yeah.
And with a lot of changes like we were talking about going on, I feel like just all in this online space, things are moving and changing at a much faster pace that you really got to stay in what's working now and what's going on right now. So,
Yeah.
from what you're seeing, what has actually changed in the ads landscape as of recent?
Yeah, that's such a great question, and it's so important because there's a huge change that happened last year that I am now hearing from so many people who say my ads used to work and now they don't. What happened? And late last year, Meta released their new AI. It's called Andromeda, and it's the AI that powers their ads. And this is different from the AI inside of Ads Manager, which we can talk about. This is just what helps Meta find the people that are likely to take your desired action and get them to do that. And you used to be able to, go into Ads Manager and get really specific with who you were trying to target. And while that's still available to an extent, now Meta relies heavily on your messaging, your ads, to tell it who is this desired person? Who do you want to reach with your message? And who within this audience is likely to resonate with what you're saying and take your desired action, whether that's leads or sales or whatever it is. And
Mm.
so you need volume, you need variety, you need to continuously feed Meta that data so that it knows what you want people to do, who to find, and who's actually taking that action when they get to your site. And so that is a huge, huge change. And it's really requiring significantly more volume and variety on the creative front and being really, really, really specific in your messaging. So I used to say, you could have one video ad, one carousel, one static, and two copy variations that you could run across all your audiences. And now you need so much more than that. You need to have, I always think about it as what are some hooks you can use that talk about the challenges your audience is facing? What are hooks you can have that talk about the desire they want? What transformation story can you tell? Make that list and then create reels, statics, talking head videos, carousels across all of those variations. So you have that volume and variety. You don't need 12 to 15 completely different messages. You need to know what those core hooks are, create a variety across those, and then start iterating once you see what's working.
I love that because that is one thing. So, well, at first I want to say, oh my gosh, so many things just came flood to my mind because the days of set it and forget it are gone, is what you're
Gone,
basically
completely
saying. Like, this
gone.
is my winning ad and this is the winning copy. It's like we're good to go. Even the winning audience, right? The audience forget is out the door, is what you're saying,
So
basically.
yes and no. So there is a lot of people saying that right now. There's a lot of people saying like, go broad, go broad. You don't need audience targeting anymore. I actually don't agree with that.
Hmm.
You do still need to have some parameters, and this is really dependent on your business too. So, um, if you haven't had your pixel on your site for a long time, if you don't have a ton of sales data to feed Meta so that they know who's actually buying from you, you do still need to put some parameters in place. Otherwise, they don't have anything to work off of. They're not going to know who within that big, broad audience to actually find and target and get to take your desired action. So, if you don't have that, then I do recommend finding some sort of parameter. It doesn't need to be that stack of interests that we used to target. Now it can be something a little bit more broad. Maybe it's interested in business, maybe it's interested in fitness, maybe it's interested in, you know, consumer goods or whatever it is. Like what is the broader category of your business? And then get to that niche with your messaging.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And I think that's probably where a lot of people go wrong, right? They're and
Yeah.
and and here's the thing, and I will say this, and I think this is fair to say across the board, is that people give these generalized things. And like what you just said, if your pixel was not trained, then you shouldn't do this, right? So it's like
Yeah.
whenever you hear these generalized, advice, like really still look into it because that again is generalized because most people are speaking to the masses rather than speaking to you and what's working for your business. So let me ask you this, and maybe we can circle back to it. But what are
Yeah.
you noticing business owners that are doing right now that is quietly wasting money without them even realizing it?
One is for sure like not having enough messaging. I mean, like you putting one ad, I just talked to somebody who was doing this before our call, and she's one ad against one audience. And there are people that teach that. That doesn't work anymore. That is going to
Mhm.
waste your money. I think the other big thing that I see a lot of business owners do is they don't set their ad strategy up to align with their funnel. So
Mm.
they think, I just need to get more people to my landing page. So I'm going to run a traffic campaign. And yes, that's going to get people to your landing page, but you're going to find people who are likely to click on the ad and then just get there. That doesn't mean they're going to do anything. Volume doesn't matter if it's not the right volume of people. So you need to align. If you're sending them to a landing page to become a lead, focus on a lead campaign. If you're sending them to a landing page to purchase, focus on a purchase campaign. You need to align your ad funnel to your actual sales funnel and make sure those optimizations are in sync, because otherwise, if you have a mismatched funnel, an ad funnel and sales funnel, you're not going to get the results and it's just going to waste your dollars.
Yeah. I do see that a lot of people pick like a traffic campaign,
Yeah.
right? And they're like, oh, but I
Yeah.
get low cost per click. Okay, but are you getting any leads? Are you getting leads from
Exactly.
that, right? It's like, no, but why aren't
Exactly.
I? Because you're not
Yeah.
doing the that is such great advice. I love that. What about the boost button? Everybody's always
Oh,
like, I'm gonna boost this post.
don't do it. That will kill your costs. So I could spend hours on why you do not hit the boost post button. Just don't do it. Uh, when you hit the boost post button, you are so limited in everything. You're limited to just that one piece of creative. We just talked about you need that volume and variety. You're also limited in the objectives you can use. So the three objectives that you can generally choose from when you hit boost are: go to your Instagram profile. There's a strategy there that I know a lot of service providers use, and that's fine if you want to spend your time engaging with people in their DMs manually. Uh, but generally, I don't recommend the driving to your Instagram profile. That's not a business goal. The other one is they call it sales. It's traffic. It's a traffic objective. Don't do that. We already talked about that. And then the last one you can choose is DMs. And if you're going to hit the boost post, at least do the DM one and have some sort of automated flow set up. But even then, you're still so limited into the metrics you can review, the number of creatives you can use, the targeting. Like there's everything you can do, and you get charged an extra fee when you do it on your phone. Apple actually charges you through Instagram. They charge you a fee on like an Apple. Yeah, Apple charges a fee when you boost your post through Instagram. But if you do it on the website, if you do it through Ads Manager, you avoid that fee. So there are so many reasons why you don't want to hit the boost post button, and the biggest one is that you can't create a campaign that's aligned to your business goals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
That's,
if you build it out in Ads Manager, you can.
yeah, and it's tricky because Facebook or Meta will tell you like you want to boost this post, like this post is getting a lot more action, right? Do you want to
Yes.
so it's almost like tricking that you think you're doing the right thing, but is you're actually not doing the right thing. So that's so good
Yeah.
to know.
I
Okay.
would say like a lot of businesses think that Meta will send you these messages and like, oh, it's their platform, so they know best, so I should listen to it. No, they're a business and they're trying to make money. So, yes, they're going to ask you to boost your post because it's easier than going into Ads Manager. They're also going to give you a bunch of prompts inside Ads Manager that you shouldn't listen to. I would say like 90% of the prompts that are in Ads Manager, I ignore because they're garbage. They're not tailored to your business. Something I teach in my workshops and I say to all my clients, like, the key to success with meta ads is not about spending money. It's about having the right strategy for your business. Meta doesn't know the ins and outs of your business. They don't know who your audience is and who's buying from you unless you're telling it. They don't know, what your objectives should actually be based on what that whole funnel actually looks like. They don't know all of these things. And
Mhm.
their prompts are based on the things that they want you to use. Like there are prompts up and down Ads Manager for creative. The other AI that's embedded into ads these days is their Advantage Plus, and most of it is not where it needs to be. Advantage Plus, especially on the creative side, it's going to pull things from whatever it can find across your website. I've had people pull in. Someone had a competitive like chart on their website, and Meta pulled from that and put a percentage off on their ad that was from their competitor. um, when I was creating an ad for a client, my client was a young Asian woman, and Meta tried to suggest using their AI for image generation, and they showed me an image of an elderly white woman,
Mm.
and I'm like, these two people look nothing alike. Like, why would you think that that's who we want to use? So you got to be really, really careful with the advice you take from Meta specifically, because that advice is not tailored to your business.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that because that's really, really
Yeah.
good to know, especially with
Yeah.
somebody that's going into Ads Manager and is not familiar with ads. You're thinking that
Yeah.
it's guiding you to get the best results and save the most money. So, oh my gosh, that was
Yeah.
so good. So, let's circle back a little bit to when you were talking about the creative and lots of it. Okay,
Yes.
so I know you were saying to pick those hubs and then figure
Hmm.
that. So, when you are, I don't want to make it multiple choice, but this is kind of what I want to know. So is it like,
Yeah.
are you like saying, here's, one audience and here's 10 different ads and copies? Like, how are you setting this up to be, whether that be testing and then like, how often do you swap out? How many are you running at the same time? Like all that good stuff.
Yeah. So it kind of depends on the structure of the business, but on average, say like let's say we have one audience that we're working with, or it could be two audiences and we're just trying to find different ways in. We're still taking 10 pieces of creative. If the ways in for both audiences are the same, the messaging can stay the same. If the ways in are different, then you need to tweak that. But you're going to take for one audience, for example, let's say you have, a a challenge hook, a desire hook, and a transformation hook. And then we create, a B-roll reel for each, a static for each, a carousel for each, and a talking head for each. Okay.
Okay.
So we're starting with like 12, I think I said. We're going to set all of those live at once. Now, if we're talking about something that's evergreen, that's going to be slightly different than if we're talking about a launch. But say it's evergreen, we're setting it live, we're monitoring it. We're monitoring our primary metrics first. So we're not necessarily caring about like what the click-through rate is yet. We're going to focus on our primary metrics when we review our data on a weekly basis. And we're going to look at the trends. Are we consistently staying even? Are we consistently going up? Are we consistently going down? Overall, we're not necessarily looking at like each individual one yet. Then you start to see, okay, if once we start to see if it's going up, if it's going down, if there's tweaks we need to make, then we can start to make changes. So you don't necessarily need to constantly feed it every single week if things are consistently going up or consistently staying flat. But if you start to notice things are going down, then you want to dig in. Okay, where are my top performers? What's the most efficient cost per lead or cost per purchase, depending on what your goal is? From there, you want to look at, okay, do I have at least a 1% or a higher click-through rate? What are my winning ads? I'm going to take those winning ads and then I'm going to go and create new variations of them. So I'm going to, let's say I've got a B-roll desire hook, and that is delivering the majority of my leads. I'm going to take that hook and now I'm going to go create additional variations like that. Maybe it's another B-roll. Maybe it's a newer version of a talking head. Maybe it's that same, maybe the static asset was an image and now I'm going to take, a color block card and put that hook on it. So you're going to continue to test variations and remix the ones that are working the best to help continue to drive those results. Same thing really with a launch, but just iterating out over time. So for example, I had a client where we launched with our 12 assets for the launch and we let those run during the launch. But then when we were doing our next launch, we looked at, okay, what were our best performing assets? And we took those assets and then remixed them for the next launch. So I took a testimonial video and pulled two quotes from that and then created for each of those quotes, B-roll, static, carousel, and that's what we ran for the next launch and for Evergreen. So
Mm.
that's just one example of how I would approach it.
Yeah, I love that. And of course, my mind, because I'm so like, exactly.
Yeah.
Because you were saying 10 pieces, so I'm just going to recap. So 10 pieces of creative, right? And we're talking about the challenge, desire, transformation. Those be the hooks, right? Did I miss one? Challenge, desire,
Those are
transformation.
like the three minimum, like those are the kind of the
Okay.
core. If there's like if there are if there's like a founder story that can resonate really well with your audience, that sometimes does really well. That's like a fourth one that you could look at, you can consider testing. If there are certain like reasons to buy, like if you have different reasons people come to you,
Mhm.
those might replace or be in addition to those challenges, desires,
The
etc.
other two. Yeah. So it would basically, are you saying it's all the same copy, we're just changing the hook based on challenge, desire, transformation? Or are we doing like long copy, short, medium? Are you testing that as well?
We're testing that. So it kind of depends on, we don't want to test too many things at once. So if you don't know if long versus short works, then you might say, okay, I'm going to take this one hook and I'm going to have this one hook as a carousel, static, reel, etc. But I'm going to test two different copy variations. You can do that in the same ad though. You don't need, like, that's one thing that's different is like you can say, okay, here's my one piece, my hook that I'm going to create these different assets for, but I'm going to take one or two pieces of copy for that specific hook. Each hook is going to need its own angle on the copy, but you could have, there's 5 different places you could put your primary copy. You can have 5 different versions in that same ad. And I've seen both work, like setting it up as individual ads, one copy
Mhm.
to one image, and setting them all up together. I am starting to see now that Andromeda is kind of settling a bit, putting all 5 pieces of copy into the one ad. It's like you can do that, and it's so much easier than having to duplicate 100 different ads.
Right. Yeah, because then it gets harder to see like, well, because what I notice when you run ads, it's like even if you have like three or four, it's like Facebook will start showing more like the one that like kind of takes off, then you're
Yeah.
gonna be seeing like one gets most of the action. Right?
Yes.
And the
And
other
there,
ones are kind of like, I'm like, does that mean the other ones aren't working? And we get, it's always that question. So do you find it does
yeah,
that as well?
100%. And it's so frustrating sometimes because you're like, okay, I just created 12 of them and like two got all the ad spend and everything else got, 50 cents. And I know it can just like be so like heart crushing. But Meta's looking at what's in there and it's looking to see, okay, what messages do I think this audience is likely to resonate with? And
Mhm.
what do I think is going to get them to take that desired action? So they're making that decision, and but they need all of those versions to figure out, okay,
Right.
what do I need to pull from? Now that doesn't mean you can't take one of those versions that didn't get much spend and like try it again in a different way and add it in later. But you have to, you kind of have to let the algorithm do its thing to an extent
Yeah.
and
I
focus on the ones that
actually
are working.
Yeah, and I actually love this because I mean, I don't know if this has happened to you, but what happens to me sometimes, and even the clients more particularly, is they'll be like, you need to do and say this, right? Because I know this is what's going to convert. And often that's not what that's not what actually converts. So what's cool is that as much as we think we know our audience sometimes we do need to come from those different angles because
Yeah,
not that we need to be proven right or wrong. However, it's we want to, you had mentioned also like reach them where they're at, or how are you
yeah,
bringing them in? And I think that's
yeah,
really important because I know for us, it's like sometimes we're moving at this pace where we're going up and we know this is where we want our people to be, but that's not where they're at right now. Right. So we
yeah,
think that that's what they want. And it's that old thing, kind of sell them what they want, but give them what they need. And I think that's where that testing I think is eye-opening sometimes. Um sometimes for I think the creators themselves to come up with that. Do you find that to be true?
100%. I think that's why testing is so important and constantly feeding that to Meta to figure out, okay, what message is going to resonate? Because,
Right.
and also testing things organically. Like, if you know something has worked really well from an organic perspective, put it in there, test it, and see if it works with ads. Sometimes it will, sometimes it completely flops. I had a client, we ran an ad that took off and went viral, or a post that took off and went viral. We put it into our ads and it spent like 10 cents. Like, Meta was like, this is not going to work for an ad.
I
But
love that.
figuring out what those ways in are and why people are actually buying from you and using their language, that is really like the sweet spot.
So what is well, but before I ask this question, because we were talking about Meta's AI, everybody is
Yeah.
using ChatGPT or Claude or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
How often do you recommend that you use those as resources to help you write this copy or to write it for you? Like, what is your take on that?
Oh, I love it. I love it. I actually have a whole guide I give to my clients when I'm doing my done with you. But it's only as good as the information you put in, and it is not your final output ever, ever, ever. So when I do this with clients, we feed it all of this information first. We're looking at, okay, what does our landing page say? What does our sales page say? What do our emails say? Because we want to pull from things we've already written. We want to pull
Mhm.
from that exact language so that we're keeping things consistent for the buyer as well. And then we're feeding it and saying, okay, these are the things that you need to know about who my audience is. This is my voice. This is how I talk. This is how I, write things. These are my emails. This is what the user flow looks like. And then there's different like copywriting techniques that I ask Meta to, or ask Chat or Claude or whatever to share back with me. Okay, give me a primary caption using a storytelling framework versus a desire driven framework versus X, Y, and Z. And then I'm looking at them and figuring, okay, what resonates most with me and that I think will resonate most with my audience. And, picking a couple from there and then, of course, tweaking it because it's never going to be perfect and it needs to be in your voice and really aligned to what you're trying to say. But I think it can be great. And then what I really like using it for too is once we have that winning message, is sending that back into the platform and saying, okay, GPT or Claude or whatever, this was our top performing piece of content, or this was our top performing primary message. Help me create 3 versions like this. Give me 3 more hooks like that. So that way we can start to iterate and remix the things that are already working.
That's so good because I know for me, like sometimes I use a lot of words and they help me concise it or
Yeah.
reconfigure it, right? And like
Yeah.
you were saying, I think the biggest thing with AI is the brand brain, like the
Yeah.
knowledge base that you are giving it. And then I think the more that
100%.
you feed it, now like you were saying, like your sales page, your webinar sign up, whatever that looks like, plus maybe even just some of what you're talking about, like your brand voice and things like that, what you stand for, that's only going to give you even better angles. So,
Exactly.
okay, so good. So, what's the difference between running ads that get attention and running ads that actually drive sales?
Having it aligned to your funnel, 100%. that
Okay.
that alignment is key, and that includes, it's not just about the objective and the audience, it is that message too. Having the right objective with the object action you want them to take within the piece of your funnel, having the right message that it's going to get them to that place and get them to take that action, and then not just focusing on one audience. I see a lot of people who are like, I'm just going to use ads for my cold audience, and then they're missing out on people by not retargeting those leads and pulling them through to conversion. I
Mhm.
think that's such a missed opportunity when you're not doing that, or the other way around, if you're only using it to stay top of mind with your existing followers. Like, that's not going to move the needle. You need to consistently bring new people in. So having that consistent opportunity to bring new people in and convert them, that that's the biggest difference between ones
Yeah.
that just drive visibility.
Yeah, so good because yes, agreed. Agreed 100%, and I think that's where also a lot of people think that their ads aren't working and they're wasting money cuz going back to the campaign objective, right? Cuz they're like,
Yeah.
"Well, this video isn't this the same thing? I'm running a video on this side." And no. Right?
No,
No, it's
no.
not. My gosh.
There's a lot of talk out there about this $5 ad strategy. People are promoting $5 ad strategy. It's a visibility ad strategy. If
Mhm.
you just want to get more eyeballs on your organic content, yeah, throw $5 up and do an engagement campaign and see what happens. But that's not about sales. If you
Right.
want to get more sales, drive ads that align with your funnel.
Right. Right. So good. Okay. So good. All right. So we talked about some of the metrics, right, that you look at when
Mhm.
you're going in there and testing. What are some vanity metrics that people get so excited about, but they don't actually mean that the campaign is working or not working? Or is there anything simple that you focus on?
Yes. So from a vanity metric standpoint, the most common ones people will say, like, "Oh, I'm not getting any new followers from this ad campaign." That's not our goal. We don't need to worry about followers. You will naturally get followers when you run ads. Is it going to be as high as if you were running ads to your Instagram profile? Probably not, but that's not the goal. The goal is sales. So don't worry about followers, focus on sales. That's what you can actually cash in at the bank. Another one is their click-through rate, wanting to make sure that they have the right click-through rate. And click-through rate is important and it can impact ultimately like the volume of sales you're getting. But if an ad that doesn't have like a super strong click-through rate is actually driving your most efficient cost per lead or cost per purchase, don't worry about the click-through rate. Focus on your primary metric. What is your ultimate goal? For most business owners, especially if they have, if you're focusing on a funnel, you're going to have a lead gen goal and you're going to have a sales goal. Some might just have a sales goal if you have a low ticket offer and a higher ticket that they're purchasing. Pick that metric. That's your primary metric. The other ones are secondary. You always want to tie everything back to your North Star.
Mm-hmm. So good. Okay, so let's just say, well, how do I say this? What do you wish people knew before they started running ads? Or they understood?
Ads,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah. Ads are not a miracle worker. They're not going to fix a broken funnel. They're not going to make someone buy something that no one wants. Validate your offers first. The ads work best when they're scaling something that's working, not when you are trying to use them to get more people to buy. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they will get more people to buy, but like if you don't have any validation, if you haven't had people buy it, you're going to spend a lot more money testing and figuring out what brings people into that funnel and gets them to buy than if you already know this is the funnel that works. Now I want to scale it.
Mm-hmm. So good. Okay. Now, if someone listening right now feels like, okay, my ads aren't working, what is the first thing that they should look at before they spend another dollar?
I want you first to look at your funnel and make sure you're getting all of your conversion metrics there. Because if your funnel metrics are not working, your ads are not going to work. If that's working, then we're going to go into one, is your optimization aligned with the optimization of what you're asking them to do? Two, do you have the right messaging in place to get them to take that action? So if we're not getting, if it's, leads, for example, if we're not getting leads, then we need to see, okay, what is our click-through rate? Are we at least above 1%? And then we'll see, okay, what needs to be changing. If our click-through rate's not above 1% and we're not getting the leads, we need to work on our ads. If our click-through rate's there and we're getting the leads, but then they're not actually converting into something, then we might need to address the funnel or what steps are happening there. I actually have a whole scorecard that you plug in your funnel metrics, your ad metrics, and it scores them red, yellow, green to tell you what you need to work on first and how to make those optimizations so that you can make sure that you're fixing the right thing and not, just throwing spaghetti at a wall.
That's so good. That's so helpful. Yeah, I always say the role of the ad is to get the click. So that was always my thing. Are the ads working? If you're getting the click, but then they land on the page and you don't get the conversion, then that's the funnel's job, right? That's the role of the
Yeah.
funnel to get the conversion. The role of the ad is to get the click. And then of course it needs to be congruent. So it's not like you have this going on in your ads and then all of a sudden they get to the page, it's like, wait, I thought this was for this, and now I land here and it's for that, right?
Yeah.
So,
Having that continuity is so important.
yes. Okay, any last anything that you want to leave us? I know we could probably sit here and go through a whole course on this stuff, but this has been so helpful, especially with what's going on right now.
Yeah. And thank you so much for having me. I'll say, like, for anybody that's listening that's run ads before and is just feeling like they don't work for me or they're not working, like, I promise ads can work for you. I've seen them work for tons of businesses across so many industries. It all comes down to having the right strategy. So if you've tried ads or followed someone else's strategy and they haven't worked, that's probably because that strategy is not right for your business and your offers.
100%. Oh my gosh. Okay, so it's time for Michelle's Hot Minute. I'm going to ask you a few rapid fire questions. So just
Okay.
the first thing that comes to mind, okay? All
Okay.
right. So, what is your guilty pleasure?
Oh my gosh. I don't do a lot of like trashy TV, I will say that, but I do love a good like romance novel.
I love that. Do you
Something
like working
kind of
from
new.
home or from a cafe? Home or cafe?
Home.
Home, me too. What's your favorite way to distress?
Go for a walk.
Do you like beach or mountains or city?
Beach. Kind of city. City or beach if I'm not walking on the sand.
Oh, I love it. Okay, if you're not walking, oh, that's good to know. Are you a planner or do you like to wing it?
Oh, planner. Such a planner.
And what's your favorite thing to do with your children?
I love playing games with them and seeing their little minds work. It's so, just their creativity and the way they think. I just love it.
Yeah. And
There's
what
so many
tells
board
you the
games.
most about a person?
Oh, gosh. How they respond to conflict and the unknown.
I love that. That was so much fun. I appreciate you so much, Samantha, for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me, Michelle.
Yeah. So tell everybody where they can find you.
Yes, so I'm most active on Instagram, Samantha Fine Digital. And, for anyone that's listening that wants to learn how they can really better optimize their ads or get support with ads, I'd love to share a link to, do an audit call or to that scorecard I mentioned.
Yeah, I love that. We'll definitely drop everything that you can find Samantha in the show notes. So there you have it. The real reason that your ads are not converting, even when you think they're set up right with Samantha Fine. I will drop all the everything in the show notes for you. All right, until next time, keep leaning into those small shifts and stacking those 1% wins. Let's grow your business together.